So here we are, stacking up as a group, socially distanced. Everybody's got their own vehicle, and the vehicle in question is the 2021 Ford Bronco Sport. This is one I'm very much interested in because the Bronco is going to get all the love, adulation, and press, and rightfully so, because it seems like it's going to be pretty badass. A great alternative to the Jeep Wrangler and other vehicles, including the Land Rover Defender. And maybe, TRD Pro vehicles if you want to, just for people who want to go off an adventure. This is a more affordable, more approachable Bronco designed to still get you places, but maybe not as aggressively or as expensively as the full-size Bronco. I honestly think that someone who buys a Bronco Sport is someone who wants to take this vehicle to go places to then do their hobby, whereas a full-size Bronco is someone who wants to take their vehicle to go places, and the going places is their hobby. I think there's a little bit of a differentiation there. Like, this can go a lot of places. The Bronco will be able to go more places. But today we're in Hungry Valley, California, a great off-road park, to see what the Bronco Sport can do. Cue the intro. Let's start with the outside. I think they did a pretty good job with this thing. You gotta make it so that it looks a little bit different than the big Bronco while retaining some of the same shape and lines and design elements. And that makes sense because the lead designer for Bronco Sport started out drawing some of the lines on the 2- and 4-door Bronco. And then he won the opportunity within the company to come over and design this one. And I think he did a really good job. I like that this isn't over-designed. We live in an era when everything is being over-designed, and this isn't so. The shoulder line is just straight and strong and confident. The fenders fit the wheels nicely. The Bronco grille with the Bronco lettering in there looks really good. And just a note, of all the different trims, which I'll get into later, but there's a first edition trim which the Bronco letters are blacked out. All other trims, the letters are white, the Bronco in the grille. So if you see one blacked out, unless someone did it themselves on their own, that is a first edition vehicle, and that is a rare spot. But back to the outside, this thing looks really good. It's an appropriately designed baby Bronco, and I think the best wheel option happens up at the Badlands trim, which is unfortunate because I wish they would offer these 17-inch wheels lower. The Outer Banks, which is below this technically in terms of off-road capability, gets an 18-inch wheel. I think everything else gets a 17-inch wheel, but the 17-inch wheel offered on the Badlands is badass. It is a steel look wheel, but it is aluminum. And you can get it with these Falcon tires, which are 29.5-inch tires. I gotta ask them to see if there's something bigger, like if you can fit, 31s without lifting this thing up. But that wheel looks great. It looks really, really good. It's an impressive looking wheel. So on the inside, it looks good too. It's nicely designed as well. I like the fabric on the seats. There are rubberized options so that you can, get this thing dirty and muddy. The upright screen here is nice and easy to read, and then I'm in a mud and ruts driving mode right now, so it automatically tells it that I should be running the front camera at speeds below 15 miles per hour. It'll turn on and off. As I go over 15, it'll shut off, and when I come back down, it'll turn back on, or you can just turn it off so it isn't constantly doing that to you. Speaking specifically about the interior, Ford paid attention to the person who will use this, so there's lots of storage options aplenty, starting from the base trim on up. They get more as you go up, but the base trim has some great features. And then you ride right up to the big bend above the base and you get MOLLE straps and all sorts of cargo management stuff and an available cargo management system.
For the hoops are on these turns,
which has decking and shelving, and it's a really slick little system. Whoops. so the seats fold down in the back, and I've seen a version of this that actually does have 2 full suspension mountain bikes in the back. There's an available, Yakima made them a storage rack for bikes that fits inside. You got to remove the wheel, but then there's a cool little strap so the wheel's not flopping around either. That's brilliant. I love that. So you don't have to put the bikes on the outside of the truck if you didn't want to, which would be great if you're going on like a mountain bike weekend camping trip. Speaking of accessories for this thing,
And staying on the higher side of the berm.
Speaking of accessories for this thing, Ford came to market ready because there are already hundreds of them, or over 100 available.
You're going to be on a long descent, just watch your speed, make sure you're not gaining too much momentum. I'm trying to keep my speed around 10 to 12 miles an hour.
There are over 100 bits, dealer accessories available at launch, from everything from like fender flares and lights all the way up to rooftop tents, storage systems, the bike racks, all kinds of cool stuff. And then just standard kit as it comes from the factory. If you open the tailgate, there's integrated floodlights, which is so cool. And then from the door handle hanger, you could hang a wetsuit to dry if you just came back from surfing, which is just, they really thought about the people who will buy this thing, and it shows in their interior packaging and offerings, from the standard stuff on up through the extra available optional extra stuff. Now, what are your options when it comes to the Bronco Sport? Well, you have the base version, then the Big Bend. Let me see if I can do this correctly. There's 5 trims. There's the base, the Big Bend, the Outer Banks, which is sort of like a more refined luxury trim that gets 18-inch wheels and leather trimming on the inside, and dual zone climate control is standard. It's a little bit nicer version. And then above that is the Badlands, which is the one that is the most off-road capable version. And then above that is the first edition, but that is a limited run of 2,500 units, which is basically the capability of the Badlands with some of the luxury treatment of the Outer Banks. Personally, I think the Badlands is the one to get here, but let's go back to the base and the Big Bend. I hope I didn't say Big Bend. The Big Bend, Big Belland. Those come standard with a 1.5 liter EcoBoost engine, which makes around 180 horsepower, I think about 190 pound-feet of torque. I'll double check that though. I just learned these facts and figures this morning, so forgive me. All Broncos come standard with 4-wheel drive. All Broncos get an all Bronco Sports come standard with 4-wheel drive. All Bronco Sports come standard with 8-speed automatic gearboxes. Now, when you jump to the Badlands version, it comes standard with the bigger, more powerful engine, and that's the one I'm in. I am in a Badlands. And this is a 2-liter EcoBoost engine, and now we have 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque, which are great numbers in this space. And not that I'm pushing this hard, but out on the road to get to Hungry Valley, I never felt like I was wanting for more power. Obviously, if you want more power, you gotta jump to the bigger Bronco. And that makes sense. That makes sense that those craving more will need to spend more and get a more capable machine. But those who just are like the weekend warrior types, and you're going, surfing on the weekend, or mountain climbing, or hiking, or camping, or stuff like that, this is perfect for you. You're gonna be able to get in and out of the places you need to get. In terms of the brakes feel fine. The Badlands gets an upgraded suspension, which is...
Staying to the right, watch the Bronco sign.
The Badlands gets an upgraded suspension package, which is why it's more capable than the other Bronco Sports.
Mike, as alluded earlier, we'll be going through this trail most of the time. It's called Power Line, and we'll be just going to be basically driving into this power line.
So it has a system Ford calls the HOS system, because they love throwing names like that at this stuff. It stands for High Performance Off-Road Stability Suspension, I believe. I'll double check that one. But basically, the Badlands version gets rear monotube shocks. It gets 8.8 inches of ground clearance over 7+ for the regular one. It can afford a little bit more depth. It can fit available bigger tires as an optional extra. This one gets metal bash plates underneath. It gets tow hooks, whereas the other lower trims don't have the tow hooks. And then it gets different knuckles. It gets different springs and dampers. It is tuned for off-road driving. And I gotta say, out here it feels very, very comfortable. I'm really impressed because I felt like this was going to be a bit of a rough ride at the expense of on-road driving dynamics. You know, they were going to sell this thing short off-road and just throw all the off-road prep at the big guy. It's not the case. I feel really comfortable. Now, given we haven't done anything truly dynamic yet, but upcoming we have a rock crawling section. This does have trail control, so basically, you know, off-road cruise control, essentially up to 20 miles per hour, so you can focus on the lines you're taking. And I'm focusing on the Bronco Sport in front of me. This is a lead follow day. Spike Ferriston is sitting in front of me. Hi, Spike. Go listen to Spike's car radio. I did pre-production for season 2 of Car Matchmaker. I don't know how many of you know that. It was just a very brief stint thing, but kind of funny. Now let's go through that trim walk a little bit, because I did mention I went through the trim. So you get the base truck, but they do...
Stay to the left at the Bronco sign.
I mentioned the base version starts with the 1.5 liter EcoBoost engine, and they do throw some good cargo storage stuff at it. I gotta go through and I'll break down the price. I'm gonna put the prices up for you right here. You know, you got base, you got Big Bend, you got Outer Banks, you got Badlands, and then you got First Edition. And I think if you haven't bought a First Edition yet, you might have missed the boat. I'm not 100% sure on that. So, through my little bit of off-road driving here, I gotta say, I'm impressed. This is a great option for those who don't want to go full-bore Bronco lifestyle. It's comfortable, it's well set up. I probably should have grabbed the 1.5 liter so I could tell you how the smaller engine handles all of this and the non-Haas suspension handles all of this, and they did have them available, but when they say which one do you want, of course I'm gonna go for the Badlands. This is the one I would probably spec out if I were buying one of these. Those wheels are just so choice. The Falcons are narrow, they're 235s, so they're not.
As I'm going through this washboard section, you can see I almost let up to 25 to 29 miles an hour, and that's where the Bronco Sport really shines. These Badlands vehicles, we do have a hydraulic rebound stops in the front shocks, which allows to absorb a lot of the shocks and damps it much more aggressively at the upper top end. This is the concept that Adrian mentioned earlier in his presentation about the Haas, where as we were designing and tuning the suspension, our goal was to make sure that how we maintain the pitch of the vehicle and also the roll, so you can experience how well this vehicle is doing in the head toss, where you're sitting pretty comfortably and straight in the seat, along with an up and down motion of the pitch. And just if you want to appreciate more what we've really done with this vehicle and want to drive a Ranger, which is in our parking lot, we can let you feel the difference between the two.
I do not want to drive the Ranger. I would rather drive my Montero through this, which I did drive to this event, and everybody commented and complimented me on it, so thank you. Now this feels great. What he was just saying about the hydraulic rebound on the front, yeah, it's super composed over faster, whoopier sections. Like I said, I came into this expecting to be like, oh, it's fine. You know, the powertrain will get you through this stuff and you'll be bouncing around your seat. I'm not. I'm actually really comfortable, and I can't wait to take this on trails I'm more familiar with, where I've tested a slew of vehicles to see how it feels there. The Maple Springs up to Saddleback, where we've tested a bunch of stuff, including that Upco bike, the G-Wagon, the Range Rovers, all that stuff. So this is great. Yeah, I like this thing a lot. I worry that if you buy one of these...
To the left trail and just follow the Bronco sign.
I worry that if you buy one of these, that you'll see the big Bronco on the road and be like, ah, shit. Or you'll just be like, I spent my money well, I'm happy, I saved money, I saved $10,000 over the Bronco I would have wanted, and I bought this killer fucking mountain bike instead. Carbon fiber everything, which I have. It wasn't $10,000, let's be real. So maybe Like I said, weekend warrior. This is the one you take this to go do your hobby somewhere fun. And the Bronco is the one where going there is the hobby. If that makes any sense at all to you guys and gals, to you people, excuse me. This is really good. I like this a lot. I'd love to fling it through some faster speed stuff, which I think we're doing later on. I'll try to get the GoPro back out for that. But so far, my conclusion here is that this is a great machine. And I, for one, I'm not like some Wrangler fanatic. I don't need to take the doors off. I think taking the doors off is silly. I think folding the windshield down is silly. I get taking the roof down sometimes, but I don't like convertibles. So for me, this is a pretty good thing. I like this a lot. Now, obviously, you don't need to do all that on a Wrangler, but it is nice to have it as an option, and you can do that on the bigger Bronco. But as it sits, I mean, I might try to convince my wife to get rid of the CX-5 because that thing is running up close to 80,000 miles on it and has served us well. It is a fantastic on-road machine. But this might be a lot more fun, and this might look really nice in the driveway parked next to the Montero. And then do I even need the Montero anymore? I mean, yeah, stupid question. Of course I do. I love that thing. And I've spent way too much fixing it, so I have to keep it. But there you have it. This is the 2021 Bronco Sport, and I've been rambling a lot, but that's because this thing's great. This thing is really, really good. So there you go. To drive the 2021 Ford Bronco, I just spit. Let's try that again. So first, let's talk looks.
Thank you. Everybody did really well. I just wanted you to experience, we will go further and further in this trail, is these berms. We're going to try the inside walls. These walls will close in on you about it earlier. Maintain your momentum. Go around these. The turns being on top of the berm. How close to the top of the berm.
All right, so as I was saying.
Vote for you if you're afraid.
Do I have to cut this because I can't afford your day rate?